Goldberg got a bigger pop last night than 95% of the entire WWE roster.
Well, you brought up Goldberg, Bully, so I guess you chose it for us. Let's start there with Goldberg and the segment last night with Gunther. I thought the segment of the night last night was the segment between Gunther and Goldberg. A lot of it had to do with what you just said, Bully, the crowd. Like, they were chanting Goldberg, and then boom, Goldberg appears, and he got one hell of a pop. Go ahead.
The beauty of the simplicity. It was easy. Goldberg, no mic in his hands, and smacked the living hell out of Gunther's hand when he went to get the microphone. We always talk about shock and awe. Shock and awe sometimes is just a little thing. And when Goldberg smacked that microphone out of Gunther's hand, shock and awe. I looked into the crowd to see reactions on people's faces. There was one guy who looked like one of those emojis. He was like, mouth wide open, eyes popping out of his head, couldn't believe it. He was in complete shock that Goldberg had knocked that microphone out. And you got so much out of that. Why? Because Goldberg's character is strong. And because Gunther's character is strong, and you don't need it. You didn't need to hear from Goldberg because he spoke with that little swat of his hand. And then Gunther goes to throw the punch. Great block by Goldberg, and Goldberg a nice, tight right hand right on the jaw. Well thrown, well executed, well shot. Looked great. Sets up for the spear. Gunther bails. What more did you need? I asked you last week if the video package that they did for Goldberg got you excited for the match. You said no. Did last night's segment get you excited for the match?
Yes. They did more.
You're being honest, right? You're being honest, right?
I told you this before we started the show. I said straight up, I thought the best segment from last night's Monday Night Raw was that segment with Gunther and Goldberg, without a doubt.
What did we talk about yesterday afternoon at about 7 o'clock when I got to Florida? We were on the phone, and what were we hoping for on Monday Night Raw? We said we hope we get something good from Goldberg and Gunther. And you said we got to see them, right? And I was like, I don't know if we have to see them.
We actually had that conversation on the show yesterday because I said you got to have Goldberg. You weren't sure, and maybe we had enough from Goldberg. But man, last night sold me on the match. It really did. When it's done right, Bully, I can forget about the last 3 or 4 weeks because now we're at the point the match is on Saturday. Now, again, Bully, we talked about it. Man, they could have done it a million different ways, so much better than what they did. But what they did last night was perfect. Again, not too much from Goldberg, not the one-liners from. I fucking hate the one-liners. The one-liners just that to me reminds me of scripted, contrived. Like, I just want to hit my tagline. There was no taglines. It was anger and it was physicality that worked. You talked about the expression on the fans' faces. How about the expression on Gunther's face? Like, holy shit, I got myself into something I didn't think I was getting myself into. He said all of that with one expression when Goldberg knocked that microphone out of his hand. Like, I mean, that was as good of a segment that you could possibly have with Goldberg. I love the shot of him getting out of the car, going right into the arena, getting right into Gunther's face. That was awesome. And you're right. What do you wait for Goldberg? The spear. They didn't give you the spear. Gunther bailed right before it. I thought it was perfect. And that just, 2-minute segment did more than what they were able to do in the last 3 or 4 weeks, to me.
People said that Goldberg looked blown up.
Mm-hmm.
How could you possibly be blown up from walking to the ring and throwing one punch and setting up for a spear? Goldberg's in phenomenal shape. How could he possibly be blown up from that? Like, who in their right mind thinks that Goldberg is legitimately blown up as if he's out of shape?
I don't think people, when they're referencing that, are saying that Goldberg's out of shape. I think it's more about, and we've seen it in the past, where he gets psyched up in the moment and the moment overtakes him.
And what happens in the body during that moment that allows you to be overtaken? I think the chemical response?
Well, I know for a fact, and I'm just talking about from personal experience, when you get caught up in a moment, you forget to breathe.
But what does it? It's called adrenaline. And Bill, I believe, gets those adrenaline shots, which has happened to me. I am speaking from experience. Not once, not twice, many times. Not necessarily going back for the Royal Rumble and getting hit with a wall of sound and the adrenaline takes me over. Sometimes it's been much less. Sometimes it's been scenarios much like the one that Bill was in last night. You learn to control. You can't control adrenaline, but you can learn to be so calm out there that the adrenaline just doesn't take you over whenever it wants. Now, that's mostly for guys and gals who are, been doing this for a long time, working 300 nights a year, okay? Bill is amped up. Bill always wants to put on a great performance. Bill wants to be that fire-breathing dragon that comes walking through, the smoke, that beast, that animal. He always wants to be on. I believe Bill's adrenaline, when these moments are happening, runs so high that that's what happens. So last night, I actually went on, on Google, whatever, and I searched effects of adrenaline and what happens to the body when you get that shot of adrenaline that you don't see coming. You don't feel it coming. It just happens. Increased heart rate, faster breathing, and heightened senses. Well, I can't tell you about his heart rate because I don't have a monitor hooked up to him. But I could definitely see the breathing. I could definitely see the heightened sense. So when people want to be wise asses, morons, who have never done an athletic thing in their life, want to say that Bill Goldberg is blown up, go to hell. Okay? He's not blown up as in he's in bad shape. He might be out of breath because adrenaline has taken over. He doesn't do this all the time. It's not that big of a deal. However, it will be a big deal against Gunther if that adrenaline takes him over real quick. And this is why I've said that Gunther's the right guy, because Gunther can keep Bill in check and calm. If Bill gets that adrenaline shot and he starts to breathe heavy, then I don't know how long Bill is going to last. Because once you get caught by that adrenaline, it can make you as strong as an ox, or it can debilitate you mentally, where you're completely lost. My point is, leave Goldberg alone with the heavy breathing and the blown up, especially people who have no athletic ability.
Yeah, but I think you're being kind of harsh.
Yeah, but nothing. Fuck them all.
But Bully, no. You're wrong on this one, because I don't think nobody's saying he's blown up because he's out of shape. Nobody's saying that.
Why are you even saying the guy is blown up? For what
Because
reason?
he was. He
was not blown up. You're totally wrong.
He was breathing heavy, and he seemed like he was caught up in the moment. That doesn't mean he's out of shape.
The guy is in the ring on live television. Did you see him huffing and puffing? What's heavy breathing to you?
Yeah, but Bully, we've known in the past the match with The Undertaker in Saudi, where he even admitted he got caught up in the moment and he got blown up because of that. So that's what people are saying. So, but nobody said he was out of shape. There's not one person that said he was out of shape.
People online who think... Yeah, people online who want to be in the know, they think they know what they're talking about, want to take shots at wrestlers when they've never done an athletic thing in their life, saying that he's blown up.
For people can have opinions, and I
understand. I understand it's their opinion, but they're completely wrong. Give the guy a little bit of slack. He comes back, he has a great segment, and everybody's like, oh, he's blown up from throwing one punch. Give me a break. Go do something athletic in your life. Go see what that feels like on your own. That would be me being like a harsh critic of something that I've never done before. I don't know what it physically feels like, but you get people out there that want to take shots for no good reason. If Bill Goldberg is huffing and puffing and can't get up to do a move or he's considerably blown up because he's out of shape, Bill looks great. We should all hope to look like Bill Goldberg when we're his age and be as healthy as him. But to take and I saw enough of this online last night to go, dear God, I'm sorry, but you people are wrong.
All right, so
you're not wrong for having an opinion. You're not wrong for having an opinion. You're wrong about Bill being blown up. Blown up in a wrestling ring means you're so out of breath that you can't continue. You're so out of breath that you become a danger to yourself and to your opponent.
But to that point, Bully, could his adrenaline be so high that he is out of breath where he could be a danger to an opponent? Because we saw that with The Undertaker in Saudi.
I have seen his adrenaline run high. But remember, it takes two to tango in that ring. Okay? Mm-hmm. Not everything is on one person. It's never on one person unless it is definitively beyond a shadow of a doubt on one person. It's very difficult to blame only one in a wrestling match. I could go back and watch that Goldberg and Undertaker match and maybe find a moment or two where I was like, well, Taker might have done a better job to help Bill right here. When people, you personally don't like to throw certain words around in pro wrestling because you don't want to be disrespectful, right? Sometimes you'll even apologize before you have to use a word. Mm-hmm. For the people who are saying Bill Goldberg is blown up, I'm giving you the definition of what blown up means in the ring. Blown up means you cannot breathe and cannot execute. That's not what I saw last night. Goldberg executed everything perfectly. So he was amped up, and you saw they shot it so close that you may have seen him take a deep breath or two. That's blown up? No, that's bullshit. And I will always be fair to everybody. If Goldberg is awful, I'll tell you he's awful. But for people to get on this bandwagon of we hate Bill, okay, you might not be excited about Bill. You might not be into the match, but don't sit here and say the guy is blown up. That's not blown up.
Let me ask you a question, Bully. Based on, like you just said, and there's evidence that he does get amped up and he lets the moment get the best of him at times, which is understandable because, like you said, he doesn't do it a lot. What kind of match, if it was you, what kind of match would you have on Saturday? Would it be a quick match, knowing that Goldberg's not in the ring much? Or would you have a match that might be a little bit slower paced so he doesn't get caught up in the moment? Like, which match would you have? Because this is going to be the main event. This is the driving force. It's in Atlanta. What kind of match would you plan for what we're seeing on Saturday?
I would definitely do a greatest hits of Bill Goldberg. I would put him in there for an amount of time that he is comfortable with. Definitely don't overstay the welcome. Do the things that he knows that he can do well. Definitely, this is like an a la carte match for Bill Goldberg. All right, what's your sweet spot as far as your genuine endurance? Like, hey, I know I can go 8 without a problem. Because there's something called, there's being in shape and there's in ring shape, all right? I have been in shape for about 10 years of my career. But I was in ring shape my entire career. Meaning in shape, you look the part. I was 402 pounds at one time in this business, and there wasn't a soul on the planet who could blow me up. One of the things that people knew about me and Devon, especially me, and we prided ourselves in, you cannot blow us up. I don't care how fast you go in that ring. We can hang and bang with you because we're always in ring shape. Now, Goldberg's in shape. How's his ring shape? Okay? 8 minutes? Or can we get more? I'm going to talk to him beforehand. I want to see what he thinks he's got in the tank. We're in Atlanta. Can we get some heat on Goldberg? Will people get behind him? Sure, if we keep him down long enough, they'll start chanting, Goldberg, Goldberg. I don't think we need a 3-minute special here. I know why Brock did the 3-minute special, because nobody saw it coming, and it was complete shock and awe, and it worked. I have complete confidence, or I shouldn't say complete. Confidence is high that the WWE and Gunther are going to be able to play to Goldberg's strengths, and that when all is said and done, win or lose, we're going to go, wow, that was a good Bill match, because they're giving him the best opportunity to have a good to great match because Gunther is in there. In no way, shape, or form is this going to look like Cody versus Randy.
No, and I don't think if fans expect something like that either. It's very interesting, Bully, and again, like that segment last night got me excited for the match. The closer we get, and people can say I flip flop, but I read it. Pro wrestling is a week by week basis. It's episodic television, so we can only do it by what we've seen the last episode we saw. So I'm judging from what I saw last night. I really think that Goldberg's winning this match on Saturday. And if that's the case, it could be something very similar to what we saw with Goldberg and Brock.
Let's say Goldberg wins, right?
Mm-hmm.
This goes back to our conversation yesterday about owning the day, owning the night, and forcing us to talk about you. Goldberg wins the WWE Championship. Hangman defeats Moxley. Tony defeats Mercedes, giving her first loss. Okada and Omega have a better match than Okada-Omega won.
Mm-hmm.
What are we talking about on Monday?
This is what I think the structure of the show will be. If based on what you just said, we start with All In because we know the more in-depth conversation and lengthy conversation and where we're going to get the most calls is on Goldberg winning the World Heavyweight Championship.
I understand what you're saying because you want to structure a show a certain way. You want them to stick around for the Goldberg conversation.
Yes.
It's almost like, let's get All In out of the way. Let's get all these big things that happened at All In out of the way because this Goldberg championship is such a big deal. But if we stay true to ourselves and what we've always professed here since the day me and you got together, what are we talking about first?
We're talking about Goldberg and Gunther. We're opening up the show with Goldberg and Gunther. We tease that we're going to get more in depth and then we'll get into all. I'm just being honest here because there's going to be people who love it and there's going to be people who hate it. If Hangman Page wins the title on over the weekend at All In, I don't think there's going to be anybody that says, gosh darn it, I can't believe Hangman Page. I wanted Moxley to retain. It's all going to be positive. But, sports talk radio is the yin and the yang. I think there's going to be people who love the fact that Gunther lost, and there's going to be people that absolutely despise the fact that Gunther lost. We're 3 weeks away from SummerSlam. You got Goldberg in your back pocket. He's fighting for the World Heavyweight Championship. You got 2 nights at MetLife Stadium. I mean, the WWE is like, hey, we want to get as many people in this stadium as possible for SummerSlam. And you got Goldberg in a championship match 3 weeks away from that event. You can't tell me the WWE doesn't want to see Goldberg as your World Heavyweight Champion on Saturday.
I hear that argument loud and clear. Loud and clear. Going back to what I was saying, we're forced to talk about Goldberg first because the majority, I believe the majority of the fan base out there that listens to Busted Open are used to this show talking about the WWE because that's what you've been talking about for so long. Obviously, we speak about other wrestling companies and we spend a lot of time on AEW. But think about the amount of people that are going to be happy about Goldberg winning, and think about the amount of people that are going to be unhappy about Goldberg winning. It's going to be the big talk of wrestling. Bill Goldberg is a massive name in the business. I don't care if you like him as a person, don't like him as a person, like him as a talent, don't like him as a talent. None of that matters. Goldberg is a bigger star than Jon Moxley. Goldberg is a bigger star than Hangman Page and Mercedes Moné and Tony Storm and Okada and Omega. Thus, he will command the conversation if he does win.